So, Jason, I got a special request for this episode of Director's Cut.
Okay, what's that?
You have to do the entire review in Daniel Plainview voice. That was very popular. I think that was the only time where your voice was matched to my horrible audio last week. So
that's right.
So yeah,
if I said last week's audio was bad, I'm sure you will agree.
That's right. Well, I'm drinking my goat's milk.
I twist your gain knob. I twist it up.
Oh boy. Yeah. Well, we're not talking about that anymore. But we are talking about, at least in my opinion, I think you share at least somewhat of the same opinion. One of the most, a great multi-genre filmmaker. And I say multi-genre because, you know, a lot of these people, like your Tim Burtons or something, they get kind of stuck in their own garbage. Well, you know, and that's good sometimes. Sometimes their garbage is good, but in the case of Tim Burton, not so much anymore. Kevin Smith, all that. But now we're talking about Danny Boyle, who has quite a eclectic collection of films. And we're not going to talk about every single one of them, but we are going to talk about quite a bit. And we're also not just going to talk about the films, but just kind of just certain themes and stuff like we did with the Paul Thomas Anderson, just certain things that are very Danny Boyle that's unique to him. So again, Mr. Jason Alt, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Actually, I think it was George Carlin that said that he doesn't like when people say that, like, thank you for having me. You should just say you're welcome, because it's like, well, they're the radio show. It's their job to have you on. You're doing them a favor. You should just say you're welcome. So you know what? You're welcome. But also, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
All right.
And George Carlin doesn't know what he's talking about, and that's why he's dead. So,
and this is the highbrow stuff that I bring you on for. Well, that's great. Also, we have some special guests, not just you and I. I have. I'm going to slow roll mine. I'm going to let you go first. Who do you have with you?
All right, I have a very special release from a couple years ago. This is Dark Horse Brewery in Marshall, Michigan. This is the Quantum Leap. It is a quadruple session IPA. So you take a session IPA, which is something like a 2.75, a 3. You can drink that all day. They did this Belgian quad style where it's high gravity, a lot of sugar, and you get a long fermentation. So you get a lot of yeast in there, and it's making a ton of alcohol. And then the beer is really hard to drink. The last sip of it really messes you up. This is 12%, a Belgian quadruple. And then I just to finish off the evening, I have my last brewery Omegang Rosetta here, which is the aged cherry ale. And I mean it's mass market stuff, nothing too special, but I just wanted to finish that off. And I'm really spoiled being near Arcadia and Bell's and Founders and Shorts and Dark Horse. So I drink Michigan beer most of the time. So let's start the evening off with this bad boy.
All right. Sounds great. And I have had the, what is it called? Rosetta, yeah. Rosetta. I have had that. And that actually made its way down to Vegas, where we don't get anything cool when I lived there. But that is delicious stuff. I love Omegang. I love their Game of Thrones series, although it's kind of dopey. It's still, some of them are pretty good. I like their, it was the Three-Eyed Raven, I think. It was the Black Saison. Yeah, that was good. They make some great stuff. I am drinking an anniversary beer, and I do this every year. So this is a special event for me and the show. This is the 2018 Farkin Wheaton Woot Stout. It's the collaboration between Drew Farkin, Will Wheaton, and Steve Koch from Stone. And usually I've been just drinking Washington beer, a little bit of Oregon beer, just because there's so much good stuff up here. And I kind of went on overload rather. And Stone is something that's kind of Vegas's, like, even though it's from California, that's Vegas's kind of brand, you know, because it's so close and everything sucks from Vegas. But Stone, yeah, I'm super excited about this. I think it's a 12%er. They do, it's like pecans, and they take some of it from every year, and then they barrel age it for the next year over. So it's like, since they've been doing this, they've been putting a little bit of it and barrel aging it for the next year. So
almost like what, sourdough?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a little bit of the first. There's some of Will Wheaton's backwash in that.
Yes, it's only the spit can that they add back in the vat. So cheers, sir.
Prost.
Mm-hmm.
This could be colder.
This could be not as cold because it's a pretty heavy stout, but excellent stuff. Not as heavy as it has been. I don't get as much barrel aging on this one, but nice creamy head. It's all you could ask for in life, right?
Yeah, that looks formidable. Enjoy that.
It's quite nice. All right, sir. Before we dive into and hey everyone in the chat so far, Traxium and The Walking Dead. I'll kind of try to sprinkle you guys in while we're talking. But before we dive into everything, why don't we talk about some themes and just Danny Boyle as a filmmaker. He's Scottish, I believe. He's a great Scot, so to speak. And he also has some... Did you pick up on any of his kind of Danny Boyle-isms like we talked about with Paul Thomas Anderson?
It seemed like PTA had a voice like the whole time, and I think Danny Boyle brings some... I think he brings visual styles, but I don't think he brings thematic styles. And he's not writing most of this stuff the way Paul Thomas Anderson is heavily in charge of the writing process. So infusing your own sort of ethos on the material is a little bit tougher. So what I've noticed that Danny Boyle does is, and again, this is a 25-year career we're talking about at this point, starting in 93, 94 with Shallow Graves. He's done what, 13 films? So that's like a film every 2 years. That's not a ton. So what he's doing is he's waiting for the projects that he enjoys to find him, and that's sort of how he expresses his voice, rather than injecting like his own values into the work he makes. I think he picks the scripts he likes, and I think he tends to gravitate towards stuff with religious elements, religious themes. I think that really influenced his growing up, and there's a lot of religious symbolism in the stuff he's made, and in the stuff he chooses to make. And I think he tends to like when people overcome overwhelming odds. He likes the triumph of the human spirit sort of stuff. He really likes when people just get kicked in the ribs for 2.5 acts and then they pull it out in the end. So it's, if you go to a Boyle flick, you know that it's going to get real bad, but Cillian Murphy is going to walk away at the end, I guess.
Yeah, I think some of his endings, like you said, are maybe on the side of a little bit campy. Like it's almost too good of ending sometimes, like where it's coming from Paul Thomas Anderson. There's almost no resolution most of the time with a lot of the characters. And then you go to someone like a Danny Boyle and he always kind of wraps it up in a nice, clean, neat package. But another thing that I noticed from him, he does, and you mentioned religion, that's stuff like Millions and stuff like that, which I guess we have to get into. But like the Cain and Abel trope, there's a lot of that kind of brothers or friends, and one's always the one that's kind of the good one, for lack of a better term, and there's always kind of the shitbag, and then it's always kind of learning from each other, where it's not like just the good guy is right all the time. I saw that a lot in Trainspotting. You have Renton and the group, and then you have Begbie, who's just a complete nuts asshole, but then that kind of transforms in T2, where you have Renton and then Sick Boys, kind of like the Cain and Abel's. Also, Steve Jobs, Millions is all about kind of brothers. Sunshine, and then of course the biggest movie to kind of back this theory up is Slumdog Millionaire, and that's a total Cain and Abel story.
Well, he presents a dichotomy more often. There's good and there's evil, and that's your characters, right? You got good evils and good characters, evil characters, and then you got the character you thought was good who turns evil. Like that's it. There's a dichotomy. Whereas you look at something like PTA, they've got all kind of different characters, and he has bigger ensembles. Danny Boyle likes to keep the cast a little bit smaller because you got a good guy and a bad guy. What else do you need? You got support at that point. So he tends to think of humanity as a dichotomy, and I think it's interesting that a lot of scripts will have like 4 characters that are like the 4 humors classically. It's like, are you a Miranda slash Leonardo slash Black Bile type, or everything can kind of be boiled down to those 4 types. But I've noticed that he tends to be a little bit more of a nope. There's a dichotomy. You get the good characters and the bad characters, and that's all you need really. And you have the good character triumphing, whether it's another person that they're overcoming, or adversity. Like in the case of Steve Jobs in 127 Hours, you just got someone overcoming the odds. I think he tends to like that. There's a lot of, not just Cain and Abel, but there's a lot of Sodom and Gomorrah type symbolism in a lot of his movies too.
Sure. Yeah.
It's almost like the sin of the Icarus too was turning back to face Sodom and getting turned into salt.
Yeah, for sure. I wrote down, I completely agree with you on, I put transformative protagonists where, like Steve Jobs, like Chris Evans' character in Sunshine. I think he kind of starts in a certain place and he kind of grows in an interesting way. And then the most interesting one is you have Renton in Trainspotting 1, and he just starts off as just, kind of another one of the junkies, and then he kind of figures it out towards the end. And then you get to Trainspotting 2, and it almost goes backwards. So that's kind of interesting. It's not just, transforming in a positive way. It's kind of transforming, kind of digressing a little bit as well. As far as just style goes, we talked about the long tracking shots with Paul Thomas Anderson, but I think Danny Boyle he's in love with the freeze frame, which you don't see that a lot in modern movie making. But there's
another thing is he doesn't like tracking shots. He's like, I'm going to track you from a helicopter. It's like, just ride your bike down the road, and then I will shoot you from a mile up in the air, and then I'll zoom in on you, and then that shot's going to cost $47,000. Don't mess it up.
Yeah.
One thing that really bugged me is it looks bad now, but at the time I think it really made me feel uneasy. The shot where he cleared a street in London. Basically, there's a bridge over the Thames, and
and 28 days later.
28 days later, and I heard what he did was he got a bunch of women in bikinis to stop traffic.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah,
so he could shoot, and there was like plastic bags everywhere and trash, and it was just Cillian Murphy by himself. And it was shot like handheld on like a 1980s VHS camcorder. And you look back now and you want to be like, man, that was such a great shot. It just set up the despair so well, and then it looks all grainy. And I wonder if that was a choice he made, or if that was just like the gear. There was some limitation there. Like, he normally does really crisp, high resolution, really good looking shots, and he shoots outside during the day better than most people.
Sure.
He really only made a couple movies that are inside a lot. He loves outdoor stuff. So it was really interesting to have such bad quality on that shot. And I think maybe what that did was sort of give you the sense of either of despair, or it looked like you were watching through security cameras.
Yeah.
Like that's the only that's only, there's not another person. Like if a person had seen him, it would have been like clear, like you're looking through a person's eyes. But since it looked almost like it was from security cameras, because that's the only person watching when the world's deserted, maybe that was a choice he made. It definitely made me feel uneasy when I saw the film for the first time, but going back, that's sort of jarring, because for the most part, he really likes big, long, far away tracking shots, and he also likes extreme close-up stuff, like Ewan McGregor diving down a toilet, or like a plunger full of heroin going into someone's arm.
Sure,
sort of extreme close-up. So I like the way he composes shots. Certainly,
it makes me feel like Guy Ritchie a little bit. Like Guy Ritchie kind of took the page from Danny Boyle a bit, because there's a lot of those fast zoom cuts that you get in like Snatch and Lock, Stock and stuff like that. And I could only assume that maybe he was influenced by Danny Boyle because he came first, but I don't know. You know, and it was a lot of it seemed like you look at someone like an Edgar Wright.
He wasn't that far.
No, he really wasn't.
Because Lock, Stock was 97, 98?
Right.
I want to say Snatch was like 2000. So like he got started around the same time. Because what was Boyle's first movie? Was it like Shallow Graves?
Shallow Graves. Yeah.
So he wasn't too far after him. So it's possible he was influenced, but Boyle's style is a little bit frenetic. Yeah, I think, which is why him pairing with Sorkin works so well, because Sorkin loves to whip off that quick dialogue, and Danny Boyle loves to do those quick shots, whip the camera around, and do those quick cuts. So I think that was a great pairing, and that's probably why Jobs was so successful. Steve Jobs. Yeah,
it was. It definitely lent to itself, and it was almost like watching The Social Network kind of 2.0, because I just watched Steve Jobs the other day. That was one of my holes in my Boyle game, but it was reminiscent of The Social Network, but not clearly as fun. But we'll get to that in a little bit.
I mean, a biopic's hard though, because you have to create a compelling protagonist of someone who's almost sacrosanct, you know. Within 5 years of them being alive, when everyone still remembers what they looked like, you picked an actor that didn't look a ton like him. Christian Bale looked a lot more like Steve Jobs than did Michael Fassbender. So that was the choice he made. So he really had his work cut out for him. And it's good that he took on a project like that later in his career, because it seemed like some of his early stuff was a little bit derivative.
And before we move on to, or before I forget and we talk about Jobs later on, I thought of you when I watched Jobs, because the whole time I'm watching Michael Fassbender, and he's a terrific actor, but the whole time his voice, his accent, I'm like, is he doing a Dirk Diggler right now? It really kept taking me out of it. I'm like, fucking Jason Holt.
That's why I can't watch anything with Tom Hardy, because he's like, I'm going to do some dickhead accent for no reason. It's like, you don't. Like in The Revenant, he's like, I'm from Pittsburgh. Why? Yeah, I'm going to do a Pittsburgh. Ewan's going down the joint angle. They're like, it's 1880. Calm down, dude. Yeah, cool. No. You job shadowed a cop in Pittsburgh for 3 weeks to work down this accent, but like, could you not?
Yeah, it was really distracting. And I know that, you know, he kind of does a regular American accent, even though he's German as Magneto, but like he just kept talking like Dirk Diggler, but he's saying like way too smart of things in that kind of voice. And it was really throwing me off. But anyways, and the last thing before we jump into the films is the insert cuts, which I liked. And I only really noticed them in Sunshine, Steve Jobs, and The Beach. And I think Sunshine used it most prominently and kind of the best. It's when they kind of board onto the next ship, and then it's very subtle. It's like a blink and you miss it, kind of these like still cuts of like, I think it was the photo of the old crew. And it's just so damn effective though. And for whatever reason, he's done that a couple times, and he did that in Jobs when he's about to go on to the launch of the newest product, and then those little still cuts of he and his daughter back in the day, where it's very effective. It's an effective way to do a flashback, almost montage, without having to really like word vomit it on the screen, or just kind of shove it down the audience throats. It's super effective, but it's only effective for people that really are paying attention to the film, which I guess why would you watch it if you're not going to? But for the average moviegoer, I kind of fear that that's not the best tactic, but I appreciate that tactic.
I think it's actually incredibly effective, because you can process that subconsciously faster than you can process it consciously. Yep. And since you don't have time to dwell on it, and your mind doesn't wander, you get put in a certain mood. You're more receptive to something. You're put in a setting instantly. He likes to show, not tell, because that's the rule, right? Show, don't tell.
Which it should be. Yeah.
Yeah. So he tends to like, look, you will figure out what this photograph is about, just like that. You don't need to. You don't be like, well, there's the old crew, the Icarus one. Blah, blah. It's just, well, you see them all from context. They're all wearing the uniform. That blah blah. You get it. You know that crew was very similar to this crew. you make all these subconscious connections in an instant and don't even think about it, and then you're primed. So I think that's incredible. It's 1,000 words in a blink of an eye, and I think he's someone that has mastered that technique.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's jump into the films, and I think we could group kind of the first two together because neither of us saw Shallow Grave, right?
I saw it a long time ago. Part of it, I was put off. It's Scottish Blood Simple.
Okay.
It's Blood Simple, and
yeah,
Blood Simple's really it's better. It's I mean, if you're gonna make your first movie, why not make somebody else's first movie? But if you're, I don't know, if Blood Simple didn't make it to the UK, I know Big Lebowski did, but that was the first Coen brothers. I was there at the time. I don't remember hearing anybody talk much about their other filmography. So maybe the Big Lebowski was like the first of their films that kind of made it to the UK. But I'm sure anybody who's like serious about film was aware of Blood Simple, and it seems so derivative of it that it was a little off-putting. But it's almost like it was a student film. Like if you like, that was his THX 1138, and then you just forgive everything you didn't like about it. It was a good first effort. He paired Ewan McGregor and Christopher Eccleston real well, and they played off each other nicely. It was a nice dark black comedy, and it showed that Ewan McGregor could do that frenetic sort of, like, he played a really good heroin junkie, but not as a heroin junkie, and it's sort of, he lent himself so well to the next project.
Sure.
It's almost like he was auditioning for Trainspotting by making that movie. It wasn't a great movie. I probably should watch it again just to give it a chance, but I was so turned off by how clearly derivative of a better film it was that I didn't really, and whatever, maybe I should be a little bit more objective than that, but I'm not a professional film critic. I'm just a guy who likes movies, and I didn't like it.
Well, you are now.
No.
We're
professionals. I was getting paid for this.
Neither was I. We're professional something. Yeah,
we gotta shill something. Hey, go to stamps.com. They'll send you a free printer with $120 worth of. Hey, it was worth a shot.
There we go. Stamps.com. Yeah, Rebecca Morgan in the chat says Shallow Grave is a fun movie. I just haven't seen it. It's a Ewan McGregor film. It's a Danny Boyle Ewan McGregor film, and I for whatever reason, it just wasn't on my radar until late, and just couldn't do it. But we could kind of group the next two together, and that's Trainspotting 2. And that's kind of one of his first movies looped in with one of his latest movies.
He went full Kevin Smith, huh?
That's right. I talked at length about the Trainspottings on the Ewan McGregor show I did. But you know, it's one of my favorite, and I'm just talking about the first one first. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, probably in my top 10 for sure. One of those movies that got me into loving film. Of course, I think it's a great companion piece to watch with Requiem for a Dream, because that's two of my favorite movies, but Requiem's such a fucking downer, and Trainspotting just lets you feel so good after watching it. It has, I mean,
I don't know how Requiem got to be the poster child for downer movies. It's kind of a downer, but it's just become like a cliche on Reddit. It's like, what's the biggest downer film you've ever seen? And they're like, oh, Requiem for a Dream. I'm like, yeah, you never saw Grave for Fireflies? You never saw Dear Zachary? Like, are you shitting me?
The Road?
Yeah. Oh, the ass-to-ass scene really made you think about your dead grandmother? Come on, get out of here. That's the most depressing movie you ever saw. It's less depressing than Pie, for Christ's sake.
She got out the best, though. I mean, well, I think Marlon Wayans probably got out the best out of that group.
He kept both his arms.
He kept both his arms, and he didn't get penetrated. Well, he did, though. I mean, he's in prison. But you know, it's just like, it is a pretty fucked up movie. But
yeah, but then a year later, he made Dungeons and Dragons, so he didn't get out unscathed either.
The joke's on him, huh?
Oh, you got Thor Birch and Jeremy Irons? There's no way this movie's gonna suck. Sign me up.
Yeah. And we're begging for a Magic the Gathering movie. What the fuck is wrong with us?
Hey, okay, picture this, right?
I'm
Jonathan Frakes is Gerard.
Okay.
What's her name? Jada Pinkett Smith as Sissay.
Okay.
Somebody in a mocap suit as Miri. doesn't really matter who, somebody who can
Oh,
act.
so we're doing the Weatherlight.
Oh yeah.
Oh good.
This is when they should have done it, right?
Hell yeah.
Can you imagine how many people would be playing Magic now?
Seriously. Oh,
who else? Like Vin Diesel is the voice of Karn. Come on.
Well, you got the
Andy
slivers from
Squee. Yeah.
You got the slivers from Pitch Black, you know, cameoing in to be the slivers. They already made the Magic movie. Just go watch Pitch Black. You got Vin Diesel in it already.
Yeah, but then you got to watch Pitch Black.
It's a good movie. No, it's not.
It's a movie. I mean,
it happened.
He really wanted to make that a whole trilogy. He wanted to make a video game out of it. He wanted that to be like a whole universe. And I kind of wish people had gone for it because the movie wasn't that. It's fun to poop on it, but it wasn't that bad. Right. It wasn't Ghosts of Mars, right? Like that was like the same year, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So,
woof.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah. So Trainspotting. What did you think about it?
Wow, I really took us. Trainspotting, great. He really for your second film, right? He took a lot of risks with some of the shots. He really went for it. The baby on the ceiling, the plunger shot, like even Ewan McGregor opening the locker at the train station, he staged that behind the bank of lockers and only got him in profile and reflection, stuff like that. Like a lot of the shots for that were pretty good. I can see what you mean by the whole like
companion
guy. No, that Guy Ritchie may have, because kind of the way people told stories and the way they showed the footage from the stories when someone's telling it, that was sort of a thing that maybe Ritchie cribbed, or just maybe that's just like a British Isles film style type thing. Sure. That I don't know enough of what gets made over there to know if that's, you know,
Edgar Wright films look very similar too, and he's still doing that style in like Baby Driver and everything. So it might just be a regional thing. Yeah.
And Edgar Wright's he's a guy that is very much grew up on that kind of stuff, so I could see that. I liked Trainspotting a lot. It was I would say it's probably my third favorite of Boyle's movies.
Where is it as far as your of all times? Not even in the conversation.
Might crack the top 250. Maybe might crack the top 100. I want to sit down and just like. I thought about this. There's a website where they pair two movies and you pick the one that you prefer, and then once it's paired up enough of them, it starts ranking them. I did that, and I got like 10% of the way through it, and it was taking hours. So I was like, man, maybe I don't want to do this. I think I want to sit down because I don't even know. Like, how do you know? Like, if you think about two movies head to head, you can probably do it. But if you're like, well, where is this in the whole? I don't know, man. I have no idea whether Trainspotting's in my top 500. I gotta assume it probably is. Who knows? But it's not my top 10, but it's in my top 10 Danny Boyle movies. So.
It's in your top 13 Danny Boyle films.
Yeah, it's in my top 3. I like. You could probably guess which two I like better.
Yeah. Well, and let's kind of group in T2 with this as well. And you know, that was it's what, a decade plus later, 2 decades later, Trainspotting 2 comes out. Like you said, it was kind of like a Kevin Smith type project where he wasn't
it felt
done
like
with these
SLC Punk too. That's how it felt. They're like, well, the characters are back.
they reanimated.
Can't act. Yeah,
they reanimated Skinhead Bob. Yeah.
Well, they're back. Matthew Lillard still can't act.
Oh man, have you seen him lately? He is disgusting.
He was on something. Was it Bosch? He was on something. I think it was Bosch on Amazon. So he's he looks exactly like you kind of imagined he would.
Yeah. He doesn't look the same. He just looks exactly like you'd imagine. He's just sloppy.
I hope he invested wisely. That's what I hope.
With the projects he's taking now, I don't think he did. But I mean,
he managed to leverage being friends with Freddie Prinze Jr. into a lot of film work. So good for him.
Yeah, and Freddie Prinze Jr. is on the Schmodown now, so I don't know if that's high enough on the I mean, hey, there's nothing wrong with the Schmodown. I have friends that are on the Schmodown, and I'm not talking shit, but it's just like, you were on Star Wars and stuff like that, but whatever. Moving along. Yeah. So T2, not as much fun as it was the movie that I got that I expected. Like, it's just like, okay, so everyone kind of ends on this note. Everyone ends on a down tick except Spud and Renton. And then, the second one picks up and Spud is just like horrible. He's puking on himself, trying to kill himself, which is just a great scene. Probably my favorite scene in the movie, of him saving his life. But there's still some interest. It's still made a lot better than I thought it was going to be made. Like, because I'm like, oh, okay, we're revisiting characters and blah, blah, blah. But it's still really stylish, and not in a good way. It just kind of hits the same beats, though. It's kind of like, are you a fan of Trainspotting? That we're gonna do a lot of the same.
Well,
scenes.
we made a sequel and a prequel. Yeah. You ever wonder what they look like when they were 10 years old?
Right.
No. Well, you can.
Here you go. It's just not fun at all. It's almost depressing a little bit, and it's one of my least favorite Danny Boyle films. How'd you feel about T2?
Oh, I thought the way you were talking about it, I thought you might have liked it. So I was holding back a little bit.
No, go for it.
I found it utterly charmless. I compared it to SLC Punk 2, and that's kind of how I felt about it. It felt like a cash grab. Trainspotting 2 is to Trainspotting 1 as American Psycho 2 is to American Psycho 1. I'm surprised Danny Boyle even directed it.
Yeah.
It felt like a made to DVD or straight to DVD movie.
But it still looked good. It still looked like a Danny Boyle film, though.
Oh yeah, they still spent a lot of money on it.
Right. Yeah. But it probably did as much money as a straight to Netflix. Because I think it bombed pretty bad.
Oh, it made $2 million in the US or something like that.
Wow.
Probably on like 30 screens.
Yeah. Not great.
Was it even based on like a book by the same author? Like, was it?
See, I don't see that's something that I should have looked at, because I thought that I don't think they were original characters, but yeah, I think it is off a book, and I think it was based off the same things going on. I don't know how closely he is to kind of adapting other projects. It's not like you said, it's not like PTA where he just does his own stuff.
Because I think there was another book with the same characters called Porno.
Yeah.
I never read Porno, so I don't know if that's what they based T2 off of, because it's hard to imagine somebody who wrote Trainspotting writing Trainspotting 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's possible. He likes to adapt books, doesn't he? Like,
he does.
Culty type books. He did the same thing with The Beach, which was just sort of like a weird culty book.
Yeah. Anything left on Trainspotting, or?
Well, Trainspotting was good. Trainspotting 2 was a little bit disappointing. Trainspotting really holds up if you go back.
Yeah.
It's been 22 years. It really holds up.
Like I said in the last show that we were talking about Trainspotting and Ewan McGregor, I'm just glad that, because in the credits in T2, you see Ewan McGregor running on a treadmill with this weird beard and long hair. I was just glad that he got rid of that and I didn't have to look at Jesus Ewan McGregor for too long. So that was really off-putting. But going on to A Life Less Ordinary.
Oh yeah, Ewan McGregor with a beard. Who wants to see that besides, I don't know, Obi-Wan Kenobi? Come on.
he just looked, I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's you have to have the whole guard.
Obi-Wan Kenobi didn't look homeless.
He did not. He wasn't a heroin addict.
It wasn't Hobo-Wan Kenobo.
Maybe Skooma? Was that the right? No, I think that's a Skyrim reference. I don't know. I don't know my references.
He just waved his hands, just like, you're going to give me those death sticks for free, and then he got addicted to death sticks.
You don't want any death sticks. You just
that would have been a better movie, probably.
Probably seeing you Obi Kenobi as addicted
to death sticks. It's like, how did we not see this coming? It's like, well, I was doing a lot of death sticks at the time.
How do you think?
I'm sorry. I watched my mentor get cut in half.
Right. Yeah, and then lived. That's a whole.
Qui-Gon didn't get cut in half. He got stabbed, but still.
Yeah, I got it though.
Yeah.
All right, Life Less Ordinary. What'd you think? Oh, so this is kind of before. This is kind of what I was saying about his multi-genre. He's like, I'm gonna make a crazy, fast-paced, phonetic heroin movie, and now I'm gonna make a romantic comedy with Cameron Diaz. So here we go.
Dan Hedaya saved this movie, by the way.
Agreed. Right? Agreed. Strong agree. I like Holly Hunter too, though.
I mean, it's got a great cast for what a just. I don't know. What was this movie trying to do?
It was trying to be a romantic comedy, but smarter. I think they were just like, here's the paycheck, go make a rom-com. And he's like, okay, here it is, but I'm too smart because I'm Danny Boyle. So here you go. So it wasn't really for anyone, but you could find enjoyment in it. I liked it quite a bit. But I'm kind of a rom-com apologist. But, you know, I'll watch Forces of Nature. I don't care.
Oh, no.
It's got a good color palette.
How could you watch a Cusack-less rom-com?
I know. It's got a Ben Affleck and Sandra Bullock. What could go wrong? But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's a dopey ass movie. And it does not really hold up. I tried to watch this a little bit ago, and I'm just like,
oh yeah, at the time it was oddly charming, right? And I mean, I like Ian Holm in
everything.
What has he ever not been great in? And he made some weird goddamn movies. I don't know. I went on a Peter Weller kick for a while, and I was just like watching some weird crap.
That's an interesting rabbit hole to go down.
Ian Holm was so good in Naked Lunch, which was just such a weird, and that's another based on a book. It's like, how do you make a movie based on a book where you're not sure everything in the book happened?
Yeah.
So how do you do that? Ian Holm's great. Tony Shalhoub's great. Stanley Tucci's great. Like the whole cast. Delroy Lindo, Holly Hunter. It's a great cast. And it was just was it a music video? Like, what was that movie?
It was all the ingredients were better than the cake that it aggregated. Yeah. But it's still, like I said, for the time and for what else was going on, you know, what are you going to watch, that or Made in Manhattan?
Well, that was around the time Leo and Claire Danes made that charmless Romeo and Juliet movie.
Yikes.
That I know I got some friends that really like that, but I just I was utterly repulsed by that movie. And this was around the same time where it's like half rom-com, half music video.
Yeah.
Like I think the movie that really made that jump the shark was A Knight's Tale. I think after that everyone's like, all right.
Yeah.
We're done. And that was what, like 2000?
Yeah.
So this went on for like 5 years. Like MTV would always pump these movies when they came out. Like I watched like a 1 hour thing about A Lifeless Ordinary like 10 years before I saw the movie. Just in 97, just like watching MTV as a kid. And there's like, here's a whole thing about a movie you're not going to see. It's half the length of the whole movie. And by the end, I convinced myself I wanted to see it. And then my parents wouldn't take me. And then I waited a decade. And then I finally saw it. And I was like, not worth it. That's a long anecdote, but that's kind of how I felt about this movie. I was sort of like, well, MTV likes it, but they also liked Romeo and Juliet and all the other weird kind of stuff they were making at the time. MTV probably liked the Spice Girls movie.
Oh,
it's got a Meatloaf cameo. How could it be bad? So,
what would Daniel Plainview think about A Lifeless Ordinary?
I always wanted an ordinary life. I hate most people, especially when they break into a song in the middle of a bar. Somewhere beyond the sea, stay there.
He'd be forcing oil down Cameron Diaz's throat. Kill them all. Get them off my land. Oh, man. All right. The beach. Oh, the beach. I get to finally talk about the beach.
Everybody hates the beach. I don't know why. This movie just got pooped on at the time.
People fucking hated this movie. At the time, too. And oh, my God. I watched it, and my fucking mind was blown. I love the beach.
It did some money.
Did it really?
Oh, yeah. It had a $15 million opening weekend. It made money. It grossed $40 million in the U.S. alone. Like,
that's just Leonardo DiCaprio, though. That was, you put him on.
This was sort of like, he was a controversial casting choice around the time. it was, I don't know, it was just sort of, he was in his peak womanizing phase, and everyone's kind of like, this guy can't do serious stuff. I feel like he, like, in the 90s did so much, like, just made everyone think he was such a douche, and he was. Like, he didn't win that Oscar until, like, when? It took
like yesterday, yeah.
Yeah. And it was basically a makeup. Like, this is like a 6.6 stars on IMDb. Like, that says people are split. There are people that, like, get this movie and love it, and then people that hate it. And I feel like that's a lot of the movies that I like. I liked The Beach. I liked it a lot. It was based on a book.
Yeah.
People saw it. I feel like this movie didn't even make its money back, though. I felt like this had, like, a huge budget, and then they, like, barely made it back, because there was shooting on location, just all the cast they had, all the weird shots they had to do. I feel like this was a movie that would have just turned into a giant debacle, and he'd made 4 movies at this point, and it's like, well, go shoot in the jungle, good luck. Oh, what's that? There was a mudslide and you, like, lost 3 days of filming. Oh, there's mosquitoes in every shot. Oh, there's, I don't know. I feel like it was probably a little bit fraught. They shot this in Thailand, right? So
yeah,
I don't know, man. Everyone's got diarrhea all the time. It just
that's like Oregon Trail.
But as much as the setting would have been such a pain in the ass to shoot, visually, this movie looks great. You got blue as shit water. You got those caves that they dove into. You got white sand. You got green palm trees. And then you got Brian Eno doing the soundtrack. Like, this movie had a lot going for it. So look, dude, a movie doesn't have to make sense for me to like it. Right? Yeah. I like David Lynch. So if you like David Lynch and you see a movie and you're like, I didn't get it, that's not an indictment of the movie. Watch it again. If you still don't get it, watch it again. If you still don't get it, maybe you're not supposed to. Maybe there's no right answer. Maybe it was a metaphor. Maybe calm down. It's a visual medium. So
yeah, but it was such
I feel like people wanted something out of this, and it was based on a book. And sometimes a book just goes, maybe it's a metaphor. So maybe just it looked good. It was a good looking movie, and it sounded good. And I don't know what else people want. It was tense and scary, and people reacted like they would when they were in a crazy situation where they're going to be murdered by. We're going to look back in 20 years when it's like, oh no, they're marijuana growers. I know. They have to protect their marijuana crop. Like, you can buy marijuana at 7-Eleven. Can we just chill out with the AK-47?
Right. Like, so that
you don't have to murder us for finding your pot. Are we good? Like, it's going to seem quaint in probably 10 years, but at the time it was like, oh, they're making drugs.
They're making the pot.
They got to kill those kids because they're growing the marijuana. Yeah. So it was scary. Dude's got gangrenous wounds and shit. That was crazy.
This was one of the hardest ones for them to film. I watched a lot of, like, the behind the scenes. I was obsessed with this movie when I was younger, but Danny Boyle said it was just a shooting nightmare, even though it was so picturesque and everything, but it was still on this remote island. It was like a real remote island. It wasn't on a set. There were indigenous people that lived around there. So that made it challenging. So there was a lot of rules that you had to adhere by. Tilda Swinton is just aces. I love her in everything.
Oh, yeah.
She is the special sauce. She's like the female Benicio del Toro. She just makes every little role that much better because she's just so damn entertaining. But it was just like, it's like every little white rich kid, which I'm not, but a lot of these white rich kids, it's like the fantasy, right? It's like, I obtained all this. I'm going to give it all up to go drink snake's blood and go, live with my hot foreign girlfriend on a beach. And then, shit goes wrong and there's all this stuff that happens and it's suspenseful. And like you said, it's just so damn, like, attractive. It's one of the most attractive movies to just watch. It's so good looking because of the sights, the scenes, the people. and the ideals and the idea of the movie of, you know, escaping, you know, the day-to-day bullshit to go kind of give up and try to do this lifestyle, and why, of course, you know, that's the moral of the story is, of course, it's not a good idea.
It's almost like a commercial for capitalism. It's like, yeah, stay your ass where you are. Stay at a resort next time, idiot.
Right. Yeah. It's the Travel Channel movie. But it had some really great moments and some brutal moments too. Like in the beginning, before he gets there, you get Robert Carlyle as probably Bagby. You know, he's an escapee from the beach, and he's freaking out and commits suicide. And then, you know, you get that cool. I think Leo takes some mushrooms or something. You get that cool video game scene. So it's got some great visuals in this film as well.
Yeah, it looked good.
Look good. Substance. It had substance too. Like, it wasn't just people, you know, I think this was coming off of Titanic. So yeah, Leo could have really done anything he wanted to do, and he chose to do this kind of weird, kind of abstract movie. And they didn't want to see that. You know, people, I think at the time, wanted to see Leo do just more teeny bopper, heartthrob kind of audience friendly type things, and this definitely was not
he
that.
Didn't play ball with Hollywood, and they punished him for 20 years for it. That's what I think.
Yeah. So. Becky in the chat says The Beach is a cult favorite. It's very genre specific, but I think it transforms a lot of different, or transcends rather, a lot of different genres. But yeah, it's one of my favorites, and I, you know, I'm like, I'm never going to be able to talk about The Beach because, you know, who wants to get a beach review 25 years later about a movie that
this guy
yeah, found the right co-host
who has two thumbs and loved the beach.
Daniel Plainview.
I'll admit I didn't even really get into it the first time. And you know what I think it was? I think it was Finding Lynch. I think it was watching Eraserhead and Lost Highway and Blue Velvet and being like, okay, I don't have to get it.
Yeah.
It's about the spectacle. And I think once I just sort of let myself understand that, I keep saying film's a visual medium because I feel like I just want to beat that in everyone's head every time. Like, I didn't get it. And that's why I like Refn so much. I think I'm always feeling like I have to defend him because, like, Drive was a movie that he made that was accessible because there was a lot of like ultra violence, which he was indicting.
Right.
But then the rest of the movie, everyone found boring, and like that's the spectacle of it. So I feel like everybody wanted him to make that movie again. He's like, that's not what this is about. And then he kind of never did. So like, I feel like if you like Refn and Lynch, you'll love a movie like The Beach. But if you're looking to have some shit spoon fed to you, if you like the directors that tell, don't show, or you like Michael Bay shit, and there's nothing wrong with Michael Bay shit, because here's the deal: that guy has made more money than anybody else, right? Like, who's made more money than Michael Bay?
Ugh, God, just
no. What you don't like about Michael Bay is what you don't like about America, because he figured us out. Michael Bay knows exactly the movies we want to see. He's making the movies that'll be the most commercially successful because he knows that we're fucking dipshits.
He's the greatest hits radio station.
And we want to sit in a theater and eat popcorn and scratch our balls and watch a robot punch a robot in the face.
Right. We like our women hot and sweaty. And
yes.
we like our explosions to look like fireworks. And yeah, you're right. I was wrong the whole time.
He knows exactly what kind of movies will make money, and he makes them, and he makes all the money. And everyone's like, well, why would you be a snob when just don't go see it? Michael Bay is making movies that aren't for you, but I like that shit too. You tell me you don't like The Rock? Get the fuck out of here. Everyone likes The Rock. Don't be an asshole. Don't pretend that you didn't like Face Off. Just
oh God, that was John.
And you know what? Every once in a while, he'll be like, "Here's The Island." Boom. That's right. In the Criterion Collection, motherfucker. And a lot of that has to do with one of his teachers in film school is on the board for the Criterion Collection. So she's like, oh, thank God he finally made a movie that has some artistic merit. But if you don't like Michael Bay, it's because you don't like America. So sorry, I got some real unpopular opinions, but I don't like all of his movies per se. I don't think he's a great director, but I think he knows what we want and he gives it to us. So does that make him an asshole? I don't think so.
Oh man. Well, I mean, I don't even know. I can't even. Let's from Michael Bay. This is a great segue from Michael Bay to 28 Days Later.
most accessible film, probably, right? Like
what? 28 Days Later?
I think so. Probably his most accessible.
Accessible?
Yeah. Maybe Steve Jobs was well. That was like
no. I think Slumdog. I'm thinking Slumdog.
Yeah, white people ate that movie up like catnip. That was great.
It's true. But yeah, 28 Days Later. That what I do the Twitter poll every time we do one of these shows, and it was tight for a while. And 28 Days Later did win the polls as the public's favorite.
Well, Sunshine wasn't on there. I didn't agree with that.
Well, I put other and explain, and some people in the chat did, or in the poll rather, did put Sunshine. I totally agree with that. But did I leave Sunshine off the list?
Now we'll get to it.
Is it not yet? Is it? No, he did Sunshine. No, he did it after 28 Days.
After 28 Days Later.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, 4 millions. Yeah, we'll get there.
Oh God.
We don't have to talk. Don't worry. We don't have to talk about. I've got a sentence prepared for millions.
Okay, good. All right. So, but let's talk about 28 Days Later. Here he is dipping his toe into the, and this is kind of misconstrued because a lot of people deem this as a horror movie. I think it's more of a suspense film. Well, I think it's more along the line of like
what horror is. Most things that people label horror are terror.
Yeah.
There's two different kinds of fear inducement, right? There's terror, which is, oh shit, some shit's going down.
Right.
And then there's horror, which is the feeling of existential dread you experience after you narrowly survive a terror encounter. Horror is what happens after. Like, terror is a zombie busting a hole through your house and like dragging your mother out into the yard by her hair and eating her. Horror is the 6 months after the zombie attack when you got the windows boarded up, you got you down to your last can of SpaghettiOs, and you're wondering how you're going to survive.
So The Road is a horror movie.
The Road's a horror movie.
Like
there's not a lot of terror, but there's a lot of existential dread, a lot of tension,
children,
a lot of fear.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe Children of Men. It's kind of a horror movie, but it's sort of like everybody in the rest of the world is just tearing themselves apart, but Brits are so stoic that they're like, well, I suppose this is a bit of a whiffle in it, and there's like they go to work.
It's true.
They're still producing the news, and like they have an army, and there's like public transportation, and there's just we don't need much sunshine to make our horrible food here because we just boil everything. It's all root vegetables we boil, and we serve it wrapped in a newspaper. Welcome to England. Everything sucks. No more fish, but we can just have chips and chips for England. That's kind of a horror. So 28 Days Later absolutely is a horror movie because he slept through the whole thing.
Sure.
Which you'll notice Robert Kirkman cribbed for The Walking Dead.
Absolutely, he did.
You wake up, you don't experience the terror, but you get to experience the horror. And just like The Walking Dead, 28 Days Later is not per se a zombie film. It is about man's inhumanity to man. And it takes 2/3 of the movie to get to that point. And the third act, everyone's like, what is this shit? I wanted to see zombies. But it's like, zombies aren't the scariest part of the zombie apocalypse. Zombies might as well be a meteor. Zombies might as well be climate change.
It's a catalyst.
Yeah. It brings about a regression to a barbaric state where the army is in control and they're like, oh, some women, let's knock them up. I don't really care what they think about that. We're repopulating the planet. That's why I like zombie movies. They're the most horrific shit that happens in a zombie movie is perpetrated by people on people.
Yeah.
So zombies, they don't have to be zombie. It could be anything. It could be the flu. It's about man's inhumanity to man. And it's very entertaining when it takes 2/3 of the movie to get to that. Because you're like, oh, we thought we were safe. That's what's so great about 28 Days Later. They fought zombies for an hour and a half. And they're like, thank God the army, they have an overwhelming force. They're all armed. We're safe. And they were the least safe.
They were the worst.
That was the worst part. When they got saved by the army, that was the worst thing that happened. It got worse. That's what's so good about that movie. And if you didn't understand, you thought it was two different movies that switched in the third act.
No.
It's not quite. You know, you saw the Japanese horror film Audition.
Oh, like God, yeah.
That was two different movies.
That was two different movies. That was a big drop off.
Yeah, that profoundly shifted tonally. This was just. The movie would have ended if the army had just shown up and they're like, you're under our protection now. If that had been the end of it, that would have been an okay movie.
But that's what happened in like Shaun of the Dead. But that's why that was like a comedy. This is way more realistic as far as a zombie apocalypse goes. And even though they're not zombies, they're not dead or whatever. You know, if you're a zombie,
they have the rage virus.
They have the rage. They all listen to Maiden. But yeah, it is like you said. It's what comes after it. It makes humanity take a step back, because it's not just, you know, they could very well just kill these very mad people. You know, you just got to put on like a full surgical gear so you don't get the shit in your mouth or your eyes. But it's even the good guy, so to speak. She, like, that one guy gets a cut on his arm. He's not even sure. Mark or whatever his name was. He's not even sure he's infected, and she just dispatches him like he's sushi. Like
that was the point, that you had to show that they didn't fuck around, and that's why they're still alive. Because he was in a coma for what, a month?
Mm-hmm.
So he wakes up from the coma. You've got the people that couldn't hack it. They're fucking zombies now, or they're a pile of guts because they're zombie food, right? So the people that hacked it, but not fucking around. They didn't go, oh, it's my mom. I can't kill my mom. It's not your mom anymore. Shoot her in the face. And every zombie movie has got that scene where you're like, I can't do it. And then you get bit on your arm because you're an idiot.
Right,
right. It's not your mom. Your mom died. That's a zombie. Shoot your zombie mom in the face. And the people that survived, she traveled with that guy. They were friends. They kept each other alive. She didn't hesitate for a second. And you had to see what a badass she was. That was the whole point of that scene. That was really poignant. It showed, look, we're survivors. This is why we're still alive. And I won't hesitate for a second to kill you. It's cool that you're tagging along, Jim, but I will not hesitate for a sec. I've known him for a month. I've known you for 2 days. Yeah. I'll cut your fucking head off if I have to stay alive.
I just loved how it was completely ramped up. It was a zombie movie ramped up to a 12 instead of a 5, where it's not, you know, and that was kind of a lot of people complained about that because, you know, the zombie genre is kind of the overwhelming inevitability, and that's the horror.
That's what's scary about zombies. They can't move fast,
but there's
you can easily get away from them.
Right.
Well, where are you going to go? That's the horror.
Right.
Fast zombies are terrifying. Slow zombies are horrifying. If you ask me, horror is worse than terror anytime.
Yeah. And and it wasn't just that these zombies, you know, for lack of a better term, these rage infected, or the infected rather, they could run after you, but it was the quickness of the turn, you know, like that's the difference between that and The Walking Dead, where, you know, you get bitten or whatever, you die in The Walking Dead, then you got, you know, 5 minutes or you got 2 days before you reanimate into whatever. In this, it's literally what, 10 seconds, and then he was like
under a minute.
The dad was in mid-sentence. He was in the middle of saying that he loves his daughter, and he's on her.
Yeah.
Just so great, so brutal. Fantastic movie. I thought it looked like, and like we said before, it was shot so poorly, and it was kind of bird's eye viewed and everything. And it had this like old style grain on it. Well, I don't think it was so much it had a filter on it. I think it was a shot in like bad digital cams, like Canon handy cams type thing. Because I watched a lot of interviews with Danny Boyle of, you know, like you said, the bikini girls stopping traffic, because at one point they just couldn't get some of those shots, and the British police are just like, no, this is ridiculous. We got to open up. You are like affecting people's day-to-day lives here. And that's when they just kind of resulted to this kind of guerrilla filmmaking. And you could tell, as much problems as he had making The Beach, he had like 10 more problems making 28 Days Later. So
yeah, because everyone in London's still alive and they want to get to work.
Yeah, exactly.
He shot a lot of handheld, and I think a lot of that had to do with, A, the handheld just it looks dystopian, but B, I think it was a little bit out of necessity.
Yeah, and yeah, and it turns the people at the end. It was very, I don't know how much you follow The Walking Dead. I obviously follow it quite closely.
Well, I'm reading the book, and I'm catching the show when I go to my mother's house on DVR. I was waiting for Netflix, but now I'm just like, I'll binge it at my mom's house. So I'll like watch a whole season in a day, and the book's better.
Oh yeah, leagues and bounds. But I'm saying the end guy, the kind of the end boss of 28 Days Later, is very reminiscent of the governor to me a little bit.
Yeah, and it's so funny that like it gets so much worse than the governor.
Oh yeah. And
you get through the governor, and then you get through Negan. You're like, how can it get worse than Negan? It's like, well, meet Alpha.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Walking Dead's great. But I don't know. I like slow zombies. I'm a purist when it comes to zombie stuff. So this didn't feel like a zombie movie to me, but it felt like this virus. It could have been Ebola. It could have been a really bad tuberculosis variant that killed 98% of people. It didn't matter what it was, because the planet grinds to a screeching halt when people can't do stuff. That's why I like The Stand, too. The Stand wasn't zombies. People just fucking died, but guess what? Nobody's working their job at the nuclear power plant, putting the control rods in the, like, nobody's doing any of their jobs. No one's doing anything. We're back to the Stone Age. We have all this shit around, but we can't use it. I like what I don't like a lot of Joe Rogan's stand-up, but one of his jokes was, if I sent you in the woods, how long till you could send me an email?
Yeah.
Like I think what is attractive here's a huge aside. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about, so I'm going to spend some time on it because I'm drinking. When economically things are very good, people like vampire movies, because vampires live forever. They're always partying. They're always young. You
spend aristocrats and have
money. You spend 200 years as a 35-year-old just getting blown in a big velvet chair, and like you party all night and then you sleep all day. You know, you're a cokehead. Vampires are rich cokeheads. But when things are really shitty economically, people want the zombie apocalypse because that's a reset button. You're like, yeah, some fucking investment banker on New York that just like, ooh, I make money for other people. It's going to be goddamn useless in the zombie apocalypse. I know how to change my oil. I can improvise a spear with my whittling skills. Like, anybody that thinks that, like, but really useless jobs go away in the zombie apocalypse.
Sure.
You don't know how to, like, make moonshine or sterilize a wound or fashion a splint or make a spear or make a bear bag or climb a tree. If you don't know how some practical shit, you're gonna be goddamn useless.
It's a very blue collar movie monster. I will agree with that.
Is there a doctor in the house? I have a PhD in philosophy. Well, fuck you. You're worthless. We don't need philosophy right now.
Operation Human Shield.
Yeah, exactly. Can you whittle a spear? Like, that's when things are so shitty economically, people love zombie stories because it's like, oh, what if I could just go to the A&P and get up on the roof with a sniper rifle and pick off a few zombies and then go down and eat a can of SpaghettiOs and fall asleep in a sleeping bag I stole from the camping section. Wouldn't that be nice? And maybe it would, because in the zombie apocalypse, there's no money. Everybody starts at zero. Your student loan debt, gone.
Fuck all. Yeah.
Fuck out. There's no gasoline. Fuck $4 a gallon. There's no gas. Nobody has anything. It doesn't matter. It's all gone.
Yeah,
your overdue Blockbuster video that they still bugging you about, it's all gone.
The dad just puts his credit card on the counter when they go grocery shopping, where he's just like, he goes up and he's just like, "Ooh, this is a really nice bottle of scotch. I'm so happy I get it." And then it clicks in his mind, and then he pulls 4 more from the thing. He's like, because I can. It's great.
That was a really good scene, and it was, it was like a turning point for them when they're like, "Oh, things aren't the way they used to be," and God. How many years would it take till the last zombie died to get back to how things, like, how long until you're sending an email again after the zombie apocalypse? 50 years?
Well, put that into context, because at the end it has kind of a refreshing, everyone makes it out okay, Danny Boyle type ending. Where do you think those characters go from there? Because we don't see them in 28 weeks later.
Well, they're not in the city because they know better.
I know, but it makes it seem like that's just a UK problem, where that whole country kind of got quarantined, which is unrealistic.
But I think they said that it had spread. In 28 days later, they said specifically it had spread to France, and
okay.
But I don't know how it would. Like, you're on a flight to America, and it's like, this bite mark's really itchy, and then like a minute later, I know how long it takes to fly to England. I've flown to England. It takes forever. You got to fly over the tip of Greenland and shit. Like, it's a long flight, so someone like, he's gonna eat everyone on the plane, then the plane's gonna crash, and then it's fine. So, like, I don't know how it would spread to most of the world per se if it started in England. So they're landlocked. That's good. What I do think is that what happened to those characters didn't really matter, because I think the zombies would starve eventually and they would start over, but they would be like, okay, who knows how to churn butter? And I think there's something cool about that. But then 28 weeks later, they were like, oh, we got electricity again.
And that's the thing too. In 28 days later, they're like, yeah, the zombies are starving, and that, towards the end, it shows that some of them are just like on the ground dying. But while they're attacking the humans, it never shows that they're actually physically eating anybody. It just shows that they're beating their face against concrete. Like, it just is a rage where they're just literally killing these people. And this was always like a plot hole to me, where, if one of these infected individuals happen to attack another individual, they're going to turn like that. So they obviously don't attack each other because they do hurt up quite a bit. So what are they eating anyways?
Well, they don't. Your brainstem's basically dead. You can't metabolize anything. Like, canonically, and I guess we're basing this all off of Max Landis's book. Zombies will eat flesh, but they'll just they can't metabolize it. So it just, if they eat enough, it'll just force it out their butt because because
gravity. Yeah.
So there's nothing doing. They're not eating because they need to eat. They're eating because they have basically your lizard brain is the only thing still going. And you're like, well, I remembered. It's the same reason that Romero zombies went to the shopping mall.
Right. Yeah. Well, Romero always gets cute with the social commentary too.
Yeah, but God, who did it better than him?
No one.
Who made a better zombie movie than Romero's 1978 Dawn of the Dead? Nobody.
Jason, I have some really good news.
We don't have to talk about Millions,
but we do get to talk about Sunshine right now.
Okay. Oh, we're skipping way ahead. Okay, Millions was Kitty Blood Simple, the way that it was Kitty Blood Simple. He's like, I found a bunch of money. Oh, Millions, look at back at Putin's.
It was just awful, and I felt so bad. Okay, so Millions was Danny Boyle's only non-rated R film, and like I said, he wants to be a multi-genre guy, so he wanted to make a family film. But oh my God, good luck. Go sit down. And I know a lot of people, and I know a lot of like film people that love Millions to death. They absolutely love Millions. And I had way too much wine last night, but it's no excuse. It's just a bore. It's just a sloth. I was just like in and out of sleep. And I'm like, this fucking movie's still on and it's only 90 minutes long.
But he made 28 Days Later, what, 2002? And he made Sunshine in 2007?
Yeah.
So for 5 years, he only made one movie?
Oh, and it was
he had to eat, man. Who knows, man? Like, the guy's got to eat. So good for him. He made a movie that probably made some money commercially. He got paid. He based the guys that wrote Shallow Grave wrote Trance, right?
I don't know because I didn't see Trance either.
Trance wasn't good.
It looked okay. That was one of the ones that's a big.
But it was another crime farce.
Yes, yeah.
It was a
psychological thriller type deal.
He does a lot of crime farces, doesn't he? It's just like a weird thing he likes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Sunshine kind of sticks out as like, well, it was just like a straight. There's no crime in Sunshine.
Well, fucking A, there is. There's murder. There's
murder and like murder, but there's no like, oh, I found a bag of poons. We're about to be in the Europe, but I found some poons in my playroom. I'm gonna spin the poons. And then no, you shouldn't spend the pound. I'm gonna spin them.
Oh my God.
Everything bad happens because you just didn't do the right. Like the kid's praying in his playhouse. He's like, I want my life to be better. And then money lands in his playhouse. And that's not what you prayed for. Oh no, religion. So
I like how they made like Mormon missionaries like super weird in there because I was unfortunately forced to be Mormon for 8 years back when I was a child.
Oh no.
The two people in the chat that are related to me know this to be true as well because they were, well, at least one of them was forced as well. But it was just the worst. And that was the only time where I'd like wake up from my like drunken stupor and be like, like that's a funny little quip on Mormons, but it was just off. I mean, there was obvious Danny Boyle themes, like I said, the Cain and Abel thing with Damien and whatever the fuck his brother was, and transformative thing, all this stuff. It was in there. He tried, but
he tried. You know what? He made a movie. He went to work for 7 months in 2004.
Yeah.
He got up. He's like, gonna go make a piece of shite today. And he went and he turned on his camera and he went, action. Who gives a shit?
Well, here's the thing.
And then he cut it together and he went, I made the film. And then the film made more money than we paid to make it. Congrats.
Ugh. Yeah. Just the worst. But I will say this about it. I'll put a little bit lipstick on this pig. Danny Boyle does know how to pull some really good performances out of children, which is a completely rare talent because a lot of child actors are not great. And the kids in Millions are they're acting. They're doing okay. I mean, once we get to Slumdog Millionaire,
better than Steve Jobs. Tatum.
They are better than Channing Tatum and
Mark
Wahlberg.
Than Channing Tatum and Mark Wahlberg. What? No.
Oh,
say hi to your mother for me.
I saw you eyeballing my lemon drink. Oh man, I will fucking go toe to toe with the happening. I love it so much. No, but yeah, I mean, he can pull good performances out of children, and that's fine. It's a thing he could do. I'm grasping at straws here.
Why are we talking so much about this piece of shit? Let's talk about Sunshine because
let's talk about Sunshine.
We could have spent an hour on this movie. My God,
we really could have, and we're already.
And this is another movie. All his good movies, everyone's like, the first 2/3 were real straightforward. Then it switched tonally. No, here's the deal. On a Campbellian journey, you start out and you're comfortable, and then you're like, I want a thing. I'm going to go get a thing. And then you get kicked in the fucking rib cage for an hour and a half. And things were bad.
Yeah.
And then the movie shifted tonally from when things went from bad to worse.
God. This was Event Horizon done right.
Oh yeah, Event Horizon was a piece of shit, man.
Yeah,
like the horror elements of it were pretty good.
I love Sam Neill.
Yeah, well, that was a good cast.
Yeah.
The whole cast of Event Horizon was good, but like this was a better Event Horizon.
Oh my God, so good. And what a cast in this too. You had Rose Byrne, you had Captain fucking America, Chris Evans. I come to the conclusion after watching Sunshine again and thinking about Snowpiercer, I just want them to kill Captain America. Kill him next.
Well, I think he said he's not coming back.
Good.
I don't know if they'll make Falcon Captain America or if they'll do Bucky or something. They'll do something.
Don't care. I just want Chris Evans to do these weird, abstract foreign films because I think he does really well in these type roles.
I mean, Snowpiercer was like, what if Old Boy was on a train? We could call it Train Boy or Old Train.
Yeah.
Either one of those is fine, or Old Train Boy or Boy Old Train. Who cares?
Doesn't matter. Yeah. But he's still Captain America-esque in these roles, and that contrast is great because he's like, I'm Super American Man in Sunshine. Because it was even like it was
a multicultural. They got everybody together except for black people, and then
there went into space. One. Oh my God!
Yeah,
terrible. Yeah,
well, it wasn't a Mexican dude either. It was like
that's true. Yeah, it was just
we got all the people who were stereotypically good at science, and then everyone was like, "That's kind of fucked up." He's like, "Just watch the movie. They all die." Would it make you feel better if they all died?
Spoiler alert. I just loved watching.
Well, here's the deal. If you're flying toward the sun, it's probably a suicide mission. So, spoiler alert.
That's true. If it's not
the fucking Icarus.
Yeah.
We call the Icarus if things turned out fine.
And
my wings melted and then I glided safely to Earth. No.
They learned early on in the trip in the movie too that because all these movies like it's very Alien, like Alien. There's some other kind of influences and similarities to some other films like this, like I said, Event Horizon. But I liked that shit goes wrong. But it's not even that shit goes wrong. They all just kind of know. Like you said, it's like they're on the Icarus 2, rather. You're like the only you don't want to be on the first
suicide mission.
Yeah, if you didn't make it on the Icarus 1, you're probably not coming home on the Icarus 2. But that's the thing. They're just all like, yeah, we're the best at what we do. We've literally mined the world or the Earth for all the resources to make this last payload. So yeah, we're not coming back, except that little shit Harvey, who was trying to save his ass, throughout the whole thing. He was the only one that was like, no, I'm gonna make it back to Earth, okay, and enjoy the sunshine. And I just love that everyone else is like, no, it was very dour, but it wasn't depressing. Oh my God, this movie, there's just so much to love about Sunshine. Critically under talked about, under reviewed, under discussed.
Yeah. What was the movie landscape of 2007 like?
That's a good question. I'm gonna look that up real quick. Go talk amongst yourselves. Yeah.
What even came out that year that overshadowed this?
I want to say Hurt Locker. Wasn't that the Hurt Locker year?
There Will Be Blood, No Country for Old Men, Juno, Ratatouille, Knocked Up, Into the Wild, Zodiac, Atonement, Bourne Ultimatum, Superbad, Sweeney Todd.
So there you go.
Promises, Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, American Gangster, Michael Clayton, Spider-Man 3, Shrek 3, Jesse James, Assassination by the Coward, Robert Ford, Hot Fuzz, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, I Am Legend. Okay. All right.
This makes sense now. That's really telling as to why this movie kind of crashed and burned.
Like the Icarus.
But just, I mean, I know you're not an actor type person, but the performances from these folks.
Well, no. I think everybody could be a good actor. Okay. There's people who are they're too stupid. Paris Hilton can never be an actress because Paris Hilton is too fucking stupid to pretend that she's not Paris Hilton for 5 minutes.
That's science.
Yeah. Hey, Tara Reid, I need you to play a scientist. What? That's the first category. Maybe 5% of people that are in movies are in this. 90% of actors are like, you're an actor, whether you're Dave Bautista from the WWF or you're, somebody who went to film school, you're, Bradley Cooper, you're an actor. You go to work and do acting jobs. And then the other 5% is like, all right, you're Daniel Day-Lewis. You're like, I will sleep on a straw bed. Yes. If anyone calls me Daniel, I'll punch you in the face. I'm Abraham Lincoln for 6 months. It's like, well, I'm going to give you an award just for pretending that acting's hard. It's not. It's fucking not. It's so easy.
Do you think they changed the name to Daniel just so he can method act better? Because that's his real name? Oh my god. Anyways,
if you say that I'm a method actor, I will agree.
Fucking Mark Strong in this movie, though. Oh my god. Mark fucking Strong in this movie.
Mark Strong in most things, though.
Sure.
He's good, man. He's part of that 90% that can do the job.
You don't even really see his face in the whole thing. That's how
who else is part of the 90% of people can act? Fucking Channing Tatum. And he's so stupid that he's like, I'm really lucky I found acting because I'm not good at anything else. I'm like, no, you're lucky that you've got a 6-pack and some fucking dude in Hollywood wanted to let you blow him, and then now you're in movies.
Oh my god.
What are you talking about?
I hurt my knee playing football in high school, so I went to drama class with all the other Morlocks. Yeah.
You got lucky. You're the 0.1% of people who want to be in movies that got to be in movies. That's what, like, Will Smith gave a great commencement address when he got his honored doctorate from Clemson University when he was like, you got to go for it. Yeah, everybody goes for it, Will Smith. Everybody at a fucking California pizza kitchen in Los Angeles has a name tag that says, hi, I'm Summer, and I'm from Des Moines, Iowa. You know how she got from Des Moines to L.A.? Because she wants to be a fucking actress. That's her going for it.
Or she wrote a screenplay.
And 99.9% of those people are going to work at the California pizza kitchen until they die. Because only a few people get paid $60 million a movie for the easiest job on the planet. And some of them are bad at it. Some of them are Channing Tatum. So
hey, it looked like it was really hard shoving oily mud into Paul Dano's mouth. So I don't know.
But when you're in that sweet spot, that 95% of people who are in Hollywood that can do the job, and the 5% that can do it super well, I don't know. I think some people just find a role. They're like, oh, this is me. And then there's every once in a while where someone just disappears into a role and you forget you're watching an actor. You're just like, oh, shit.
Sure.
I forgot for 2 years that Bryan Cranston wasn't Walter White.
Yeah.
When Walter White said some shit about science and me as a chemist, I'm like, that's 100% correct. And why wouldn't he know that? He's Walter White.
Yeah.
That's good acting when you can fucking forget you're watching someone acting. You think you're seeing a dude. That's some people get that 1 or 2 times, and some people force it. Like Daniel Day-Lewis, he's like, I'm not gonna use my right foot for a year, and it's like, okay. Here's an award. Is that enough for you? Can you calm down? Can you stop punching people in the face for referring to you as anything other than the last Mohican? Can you calm down?
Maybe that was on the front end of the contract for him to sign the deal. It's like, okay, you already have the award, but you got to be weird and you can't use your foot for it.
So yeah, everyone was great in Sunshine. Every actor did a great job. And it was a good movie.
Great. I think the effects hold up quite well. And it almost looks silly at certain, it could get silly, but it doesn't because it's so freaking cool. I mean, think about it. It's just like this big umbrella that's flying at the sun, and they're in these giant, 1950s style astronaut uniforms that just look like tinfoil. They have that big, Big Daddy from BioShock kind of head on them. It really could be silly, but it just is done in such a great way that I mean, I really think that this is kind of his magnum opus, and it never will get the credit and the due respect that it deserves because of some of his other more Oscar baity movies like Slumdog and stuff like that, his more accessible movies, like you said, like 28 Days Later. But Sunshine, I mean, it's hard. It is hard to do sci-fi well because so many people try and so many people fail. And this is one of the best sci-fi movies.
Been another Event Horizon, just like you said. What separates this from Event Horizon?
Style, substance, everything. Just tact. Yeah, Event Horizon is just silly because it just goes so over. It scared the shit out of me as a kid. I'm not even gonna lie.
Event Horizon?
Oh yeah, but watching it now.
Yeah, how old were you when that came out? 13, 12? You're like my age? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I lost sleep over that movie. But watching it now, I'm just like
fucking eyes out and like the dude out in space.
All the blood. Yeah. Oh yeah. It was creepy as fuck.
Oh.
But
I mean, Sunshine got 18 Academy Award nominations, or not Academy Award, 18 nominations. It won Best Technical Achievement at the BAFTAs. It got nominated for a Saturn for Best Science Fiction. What even won that year?
Who knows? Probably I Am Legend or something horrible. I don't know. This movie, I liked his take on sci-fi because it didn't.
Oh, the 300 won the Best Action Adventure for the year.
Really?
No, that's not Best Sci-Fi though. It was Best Action Adventure Thriller.
Yeah.
So what won Best Sci-Fi? Who knows?
I loved his sci-fi because it doesn't look.
Cloverfield. Suck my dick. Cloverfield won. I Am Legend, Cloverfield, The Last Mimsy, Transformers, Sunshine, and Fantastic Four were all nominated for Best Sci-Fi, and fucking Cloverfield won.
That's pretty pathetic. And I'm a Cloverfield 1 and 2 apologist, but that is horrible because that couldn't hold Sunshine's jock.
Well, I mean, that's us though. We're super biased.
Yeah,
we thought some artsy fartsy British dude showing a bunch of people not wearing sunscreen was the best film in 2007. But hey, what are you gonna do?
But
it's better than the last fucking Mimsy, at least.
That is true. His sci-fi looks it doesn't look overly like sci-fi looking, like futuristic. It looks kind of grounded, like the whole greenhouse system was really cool looking. It just I don't know. It was a very refreshing take on sci-fi.
When you do that, it's like, this is the not too distant future. We have fucked up the planet. We don't have an alternative.
Well, it never gives you a timestamp either. So it might be, centuries down the road. It never does. And that's what's clever about it. Because, when they show, like when Chris Evans is there watching the thing about it, like his girlfriend or whatever, whoever it is, his daughter, it's really ambiguous, like getting blasted by the waves. That could be any time. That could be, centuries down the road, or it could be, next year. Yeah. So I like how ambiguous it was as far as the timestamp went.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, man, I could rave about that movie for another hour, but like he made 3 more good movies.
Yeah, and the next one would
shitty one,
Slumdog Millionaire.
And it was really refreshing to see him shoot so successfully in the Bollywood style, where they did the dance at the end. It was a long movie. It just felt, and you know why they do that? Because it's so fucking hot in India. They want a 3-hour movie so they can go sit in a theater, because the theater's dark and cold and has air conditioning, and people go to a movie to cool off, and that's why they like a long movie. They like a dance number, they like an intermission, they like all that crap. So like he borrowed a lot of Bollywood elements, which I thought was really fun.
Yeah, and this was the quintessential kind of Cain and Abel story. I mean, almost literally. Yeah. This was the Cain and Abel story. It was I can't remember his name now, but anyways, Jamal, thank you. Jamal is just Jamal and Samir. I want to say Samir. Chat, help me out. No, I don't know. Either way, Salim. Thank you. Jamal and Salim, yeah, and Jamal's kind of the romantic of the group. I mean, these two kids, and this is like great childhood acting, in my opinion. And that's where I will give a lot of credit, because I kind of agree with you as far as like adults go. Like once you get to a certain age, if you got it, you got it. If you could do the thing, if you're part of the 1% or not, you know how to read lines, and kind of put your mind into these kind of roles. But these kids are just like flawless, and he puts these kids through the ringer. He's literally throwing one kid in a pile of shit. You know, it's probably not real shit, but it's like, you know,
you gotta imagine that's not real shit.
You hope. You really hope. He's throwing them off.
Turns out real shit is actually cheaper than fake shit.
Right.
I talked to Spielberg, and he said his fake shit budget on Jurassic Park was over $1 million. I'm like, I don't have that kind of money.
Right. Well, that's why they focused it so much with Jeff Goldblum. They had to really, really sell that pile of shit.
Shit finds a way.
Shit finds a way. And I like the whole generational piece. The Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Indian guy is just the biggest scumbag on the face of the planet.
I like it's so culturally different. Like in America, it's like, we think he might have cheated on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. We don't know how he did it, so we're gonna give you the money, but shame on you. And in India, it's like, oh well, the police are gonna beat the shit out of you.
An electric
12 hours. Yeah. We're gonna hook a car battery up to your testicles, and then you gotta go back on TV. Wearing the same shirt as yesterday.
Yeah.
That has all your beating sweat on it.
It's just crazy. That's what I could say about this movie is the performances, because it's very long, but it's just like, it's heartbreaking, and it's very, I don't know. It is very Oscar baity, though. I will say that. I'm not going to say that Slumdog is a perfect movie by any means, because it is just it's just hitting those specific check boxes and those certain notes to be like, oh, the people are going to like this. Oh, the Academy is going to like this. It did win Best Picture, though, right?
Yeah, I think it won 8 Oscars, in fact.
Jesus. Yeah, it won all the things.
It won Best Motion Picture, Best Achievement in Directing, Best Writing, Best Cinematography, Best Film Editing, Best Score, Best Original Song, and Best Mixing. It was nominated for Best Original Song and Best Sound Editing, and didn't get it. For a different song and a different... Sound editing, not sound mixing. So it won for mixing and got nominated for editing.
Okay. I don't know. What did you think about it?
It was great. It was just, whatever. Like it felt like the Backstreet Boys song of movies, right? It was just sort of like, nah, here you go, Whitey. Like, I don't know. It felt like such Oscar bait. Yeah. But everybody executed so well, I'm not even mad at it, right? Like, it was just sort of... It was the Cain and Abel story. You know, it was the rags to riches story. It was the guy overcomes the insurmountable odds story. It was the everything in your life has prepared you. It's Campbell's hero's journey, right? It's everything. It was just like it felt like the culmination of just every story. It was just like, here's the way things go in narratives. It was just like, here's the narrative and here's how it goes. But like, it was so well executed. I don't know. I really liked it. I enjoyed it. I saw it twice. 2008 was a weird year for me. I feel like I probably saw this on a date with my wife. Actually,
it's everything you want to see in a movie, though, right? Like you said,
yeah, that's what Bollywood. That's what Bollywood does. They're like, dude, we got to keep you here for 3 hours. We'll just get the movie experience. It's a music video, and it's a love story, and it's people are shooting each other in the face, but also there's like there's intrigue. There's like a plot that someone's trying to solve a crime, but also there's a person trying to overcome. There's just everything. That's what Bollywood does. They're just like, here's something for everybody. Go see what's playing at the Bollywood place. Doesn't matter. There's going to be something for you. You're going to like some aspect of this movie. But it was like the westernized version of a Bollywood film. And the fact that he but like directed in somebody else's style, I thought was pretty cool, because that can't be easy.
Yeah, it definitely seems like Danny Boyle loves challenges, and like you said, it's like Bollywood films are like all this stuff. We want to keep you entertained, and here's the giant dance number. And I remember watching it for the first time, and I'm like, are they gonna? And I'm like, no, they're not gonna. They went for it, and I'm like, hats off, man, because that's awesome. All right,
I kind of wish more movies did it, because that's like taking the bow at the end of the movie, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the curtain call.
Yeah,
that is the curtain call.
I mean, it was a fun movie. It made a shitload of money. It made all the money. But I mean, it's good. I mean, I'm glad that he, you know, if he didn't get recognition for things like Sunshine, or he didn't make all the money for things like The Beach or 28 Days Later, like he should have, then at least something kind of did it for him. Because if it wasn't just for this movie, then, you know, he should have gotten it for some of the other films. So it was kind of like, it's always that validation moment, right? It's like, yeah, Danny Boyle has been cranking out these great films, and they're not so much, you know, palette, you know, for everyone's palette, so to speak. They're not the Budweiser of films that we're just gonna, like a Michael Bay, or we're not just gonna throw awards at. So he makes something like this, which was admittedly Oscar baity, but just enough, and still had so much style and substance to it that I was like, totally, you know, I was on board. Because there's a lot of these Oscar movies, especially anything with Daniel Day-Lewis, where I'm just like, well, yeah, of course, he's in a movie, just give it to him. So it was nice to see that a movie about that was as like disgusting and uncomfortable as this movie tends to be at certain points, that something like that got allotted. So 127 hours, sir. Yeah.
A movie that made James Franco interesting for 90 minutes. That's a feat.
Yeah, but it was only 90 minutes. It was the 90 minutes after this movie came out.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm triple majoring at 3 different universities. Yeah, you just sleep in class, though. Are you gonna give James Franco a D for turning in? It's like, oh wow, I'm in movies, cool, whatever. You get a B in my class. Thanks for showing up. This was nominated for 6 Oscars. Didn't win anything.
Yeah.
It was good, man.
I fucking
cut his arm off. Yeah, well, the story's crazy, man. I saw the real Aaron Ralston get interviewed, and I was like, and the way he tells it, it wasn't even like a good Swiss Army knife. It was just like a shitty Leatherman that he bought like a gas station. It was just like a piece of garbage knife with a dull blade that he cut his arm. Ah!
Well, and he's fucking it up the whole time too, because at first he's like, I'm on the chipping the rock away, you know, kind of idea. I'm gonna chip the rock away, and that's gonna do it. So, you know, he's dulling the knife, the shitty knife, even more, and then to cut your own arm off with that kind of, you know, spoiler alert, he cuts his fucking arm off.
But that's the story that Danny Boyle hears about. Is like, yes, a triumph. I need the triumph of the human spirit. That's what he likes, man. He likes and the guy lived. That's the best part about that. Like, if you just found a dude like 8 feet away from the rock, just bleeding from a stump, dead, nobody wants that.
Yeah.
How great is that? And it was a huge cast for
Right.
Like a movie that was just a dude pinned under a rock for 90 minutes. I kind of wanted to throw up when he was cutting through his arm. I'll be honest. That fake arm looked real realistic.
Yeah. Even the little smear. I'm so much of a pussy as far as like blood like real looking blood goes. Just the blood smear with like the bone fragments on the side of the rock. When it first happens, I'm like, oh God, like, why I don't go rock climbing or do anything physical outside.
Well, that's not why I don't do that, but this didn't help for sure.
It doesn't. Great visuals to this movie. Like I said, even if it was a better actor, so to speak, than James Franco, it would.
Wow, where are you going to find one of those?
You know, put Daniel Day-Lewis down there, and we'll see what really happens.
Call me Rock Guy. Oh Jesus!
That rock would have moved itself just by a sheer presence.
I'm going to sleep with my arm wedged in a rock every night for a month. Really not necessary, Mr. Danley. Call me Rock Guy. Oh.
That would have been the best, like prep time for the rest of the crew ever for any of his movies, right? He's like, I'm just gonna be down here with a rock, throw the ramen noodles down the crevice, you know. It's like, oh, people would have been ecstatic that they didn't have to deal with him. But yeah, I thought it was great. The music was great. We had a Kate Mara cameo kind of in the beginning. She's one of the two lady friends that they go, cliff diving with or whatever, that little rock pool that they find. It's fantastic. A lot of those, that's a return, like you said before we started jumping into the films, those kind of close-ups, because you get, every time he takes a sip, you are part of his Camelback. You're a part of his, drink of water. And that just, for whatever reason, that just makes it more like you feel the stakes a little bit more. You're more invested in that part of it, which I like quite a bit. I loved 127 Hours. I liked it quite a bit. Not one of his best films. I think Sunshine and some of the other films are better, like Slumdog and of course Trainspotting. But I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it was fine. It was a good movie.
It was fine. All right.
It was like a good product. He's like, I gotta make a product. He got 6 Oscar nominations. It just, I don't know. It was fine. He did his job.
It didn't win anything, did it?
No, not Oscars. It won like some other minor awards.
I don't think it should have either. I think.
Can I be honest? I never saw Trance.
I didn't either. So that's our review of Trance. However, Steve Jobs was the most okay. Here's a little caveat about Steve Jobs.
Wait. What? Oh man, I did see Trance.
Did you really?
I'm looking at the IMDb page for it. I did see Trance.
Got James McAvoy in it.
Yeah. It was not good.
Not good. Not so good, huh? I never saw it. I saw a lot of the previews. Rosario Dawson's in it. It looks like some kind of psychological thriller. Do you remember a lot?
Like a hypnotism thing.
Yeah.
It was 5 years ago I saw this, but I actually did see this. I think my mother just buys DVDs without. She's like, watch this.
Good for her.
She had a whole stack of DVDs, and I just like watched all of them. And this was in there. I've seen this. I did not like it. I didn't think I saw it, but now that I'm seeing like the cast and everything, yeah. Oh boy, this was not good.
Did it have any like Danny Boyle style to it? Was it shot well at least? Or
I didn't even know it was him.
Oh wow!
Because I didn't when I was looking at the list of Danny Boyle films, I was like, Trance, nah, I never saw that. So I didn't even peg it as a Danny Boyle film. And I saw this 5 years ago when I was already a fan of his. So this was just a forgettable movie that he made with James McAvoy. It's got a weird hypnotism twist to it. It's like, oh, what's real? What's reality?
Ugh. It sounds absolutely terrible. Yeah. Steve Jobs.
Yeah, like he did a heist and then forgot about it, and then the hypnotist made him remember it. Yeah, it's like it's some piece of shit like that. Yeah.
God.
Steve Jobs, great.
Do
we need 2 Steve Jobs movies?
No. Probably not. I watched some fucked up things. Gore doesn't bother me, although I just said the whole thing about the 127 hours.
Well, that was beyond gore.
Yeah, that
was hyper realistic.
You could put yourself in there.
Like someone like getting shot in the head and like fake blood squirts out. You're like, nah, but like you see some dude like sawing through his arm. You're like, I have an arm. That could be my arm.
Right.
Yeah.
It was just, yeah, that's, I think everyone gets a pass on that one, but the most uncomfortable 25 minutes opening of a movie, like, okay, movies should have, in my opinion, I'm gonna get on my soapbox here for a second. Movies, in my opinion, should have a very hooky, kind of good opening scene, and there's a lot of films that do that. Boogie Nights, every Edgar Wright film, great car chase in Baby Driver, all that stuff. You should have a little bit of a exciting kind of hooky intro to your movies. Steve Jobs has, it's just so uncomfortable. Being a father, especially being a father of daughters, I almost turned it off at certain points because he's just such an absolute scumbag where I had to like avert my eyes to it. I am not easily offended. You could say anything you want and I'll roll with you, but I was offended by Steve Jobs, like the opening scene. And it gets a little bit better because it's all about the story of him kind of growing. It's a very interesting
He wasn't
story.
a good person.
He sucked.
He was the kind of guy that, like, he was paid $10,000 to develop a program. He paid Steve Wozniak $1,000 to do it, kept $9,000, and then took all the credit. That's the kind of guy Steve Jobs was.
He's a con man. I mean, can we just say what he is? He's a fucking con man.
But luckily, he was such a fucking idiot that he's like, watermelon will cure my cancer. Like,
yeah. It took care of itself. The glitch.
I just eat nothing but raspberries. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That's true.
So at least being a fucking idiot, like, translated to, like, all aspects of his life, and I don't know.
The glitch was fixed.
We fixed the glitch.
We fixed the glitch. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was just the worst. And
he was, but like, you have to make movies about people who are just the worst. Because around this time, Social Network came out, and that was a movie about someone else who's just the worst.
Fucking great year for Aaron Sorkin.
Well, Sorkin's, oh man, and like right after that, he followed that up by making Newsroom, which is transcendent. I just finished rewatching that. I forgot season 3 was only 6 episodes, so I'm like, oh, I thought there was some more after. Oh, okay. But that was good.
Yeah,
Sorkin, he's just great.
Him doing Steve Jobs and doing Social Network, and they're both so snappy and fast paced. But they're just, even though it's like, and you think about it, you're just like, well, it's Michael Fassbender versus Jesse Eisenberg, but it doesn't matter. Like, Social Network was just the complete package. It's like you put that on paper. Like, seriously, think about that. It's like you have Kate Winslet and Michael Fassbender and Seth Rogen and all these people, and then you have, put that against Armie Hammer, Jesse Eisenberg, and Justin Timberlake, and that one's the good one. And I'm not saying Steve Jobs isn't great. It really is. The dialogue's great, and it's very unique. It's really all takes place within 3 different, 10 minutes before these release events.
That was all Sorkin.
Yeah. That's
really
true.
How much credit but if you look behind the scenes, like the way Boyle made people rehearse and the way he got stuff out of people and the way he created a collaborative atmosphere, the way he decided to shoot the stuff, that was all classic Boyle. But Steve Jobs was a transcendent movie, and it got all that Oscar buzz. Mostly because of Sorkin, I would say.
Yeah.
But it only got 2 Oscar nominations.
And didn't win anything, right?
It won 2 Golden Globes.
Okay.
And it won a BAFTA for Best Supporting Actress.
For Kate Winslet?
For Kate Winslet, of course.
Yeah.
But like, that's like it.
Throw all the money at the little girl in the beginning, like his daughter, like just having to react to these horrific things, like being that age and being that.
Well, as a father of a daughter, as someone who treats his own daughter horrifically,
God,
I can say that she was probably reacting natural the way my daughter does when I scream at her, and she's like, ah. No, I felt the same way watching that movie. I'm sort of like, man, how could you treat a little kid like that? My God.
Yeah, or he doesn't even let her out of the room, where he's just like, no, come back. Do you know what a coincidence is? And I'm just like, oh God, stop it! She was leaving.
I couldn't like, my kid will ignore me. I'll be like, Lily, Liliana, Lily, and she's like, I'm Joey, Daddy. Like, when I finally have to raise my voice to get her attention because she was ignoring me, she goes, I'm Joey. Aww. And then I'm like, oh, I'm a monster. And I pick her up and hug her. And I know she's doing that on purpose because she's a manipulative piece of shit. Right. She's only 2, but like, I know what she's about. She's got to figure it out. She knows my buttons, so
sure. Oh, dude, I know.
I can't imagine treating a kid like that because I don't know. I just, oh man, yeah. What a piece of shit Steve Jobs was as a person, and to go into that and be like, well, here's a guy who stole from everyone he ever knew and created a cult of personality around himself and fell in love with his own ego to such an extent that he did take fucking chemotherapy drugs for his actual cancer. He won the die roll, the 1 in 100 shot where he got the kind of pancreatic cancer that doesn't let you know you got cancer after it's too late, like everybody else gets. Because that's why pancreatic cancer is a motherfucker, because pancreatic cancer doesn't kill you. Liver and spleen and gallbladder and every other cancer that started in the pancreas and went everywhere else. But he caught it in time, and he's like, chemo, how about I eat a bowl of kiwis every morning? It's just like, if anybody had said, no, Steve Jobs, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
But they were like, oh, you're a genius, sir. Way to take Steve Wozniak's idea and sell it and get credit for it. You're such a genius. Way to wear a black turtleneck and go into a lab with a bunch of people. He's like, I want all my songs on my phone. And they're like, what does that even mean? He's like, just do it. Like, wow, you yelled at a bunch of smart people until they put songs on a phone. You're a fucking genius.
Yeah. He was
that was just, if anybody had been like, hey, Steve, have you ever had a fucking original idea in your whole life? And he'd be like, maybe not. Maybe I should listen to my doctor. He might be alive if people had ridden his dick so much. That's what I'm saying. If anybody had said once in his life, hey, Steve, maybe you're not as fucking smart as you think you are, he'd still be alive. That's what I'm saying. He
surrounded himself with brilliant introverts like Woz, which I thought Seth Rogen,
because he could steal from them.
Exactly. And he was just like that whole battle where Seth Rogen just wanted the one thing that he wouldn't give him, and he never did it. It's just crazy. He was just a giant con artist, completely unlikable. And
everybody knows that. So how do you build a film? And we'll circle back around to Danny Boyle now. Because how do you build a film around a piece of fucking garbage like Steve Jobs? How do you make a compelling protagonist out of someone who, if you was like, here's a guy, his name's Archibald Beechcroft, and he invented the MP5. You can do whatever you want with that guy.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want, but there's a guy who lived. There are Wikipedia articles about everything he ever did. So how do you make that guy into a compelling protagonist? A real person who everything he did was documented, and B, someone everybody knows, but was not the greatest guy. Like, how do you make that into a compelling? And he managed. So as much as Sorkin really just kind of went, I'm going to do Sorkin stuff, pew pew, and then just made a brilliant script around, like, well, here's the 3 stages of Steve Jobs. Here's everything you need to know about him in 3 acts. Like, that was just, it was so, that framing it that way was something that, like, Sorkin in interviews is like, I can't believe the studio let me do that.
You don't get to see Steve Jobs in a normal setting at all, because he was just this weird, narcissistic, like, weirdo, like, asshole, and no one wanted to see him in his real life. And he was on the chair to Disney. I mean, this guy just didn't do Apple stuff, but like you said, the way they framed it to where it was just these 3 moments of this, like, Titanic person's life was great, and it was very refreshing, and that's why, like you said, how do you do that? How do you make it interesting? That's how you have to go completely weird and unconventional with your filmmaking style. You have to just put these people in a room and give different conflict and different ways to interact, and they pulled it off. So I have to say, hats off to Aaron Sorkin and Danny Boyle for pulling that one off, to making it as interesting as it was, because you didn't even get a protagonist. You got an antagonist. You're following an unlikable person for 90 minutes, a little bit over 90 minutes through this journey. And it's just the worst, but it's still very entertaining, very snappy. And you're getting Aaron Sorkin dialogue. So, I mean, he is just clinically underrated as well. But we are at time, sir. So that is our Danny.
We did it. We finished up.
We finished it. 2 hours exactly.
We did it.
We did it. So, yeah, that's Danny Boyle. I've been wanting to talk about Danny Boyle for so long, and I'm just so glad that I have someone to talk about Danny Boyle with. And do you want to spoil who we're going to be talking about in 2 weeks?
Do I know?
I thought you did.
No.
This is asking a lot for you and myself that's been drinking. But yeah, I thought we agreed on Alfonso Cuarón.
Oh, yeah. That's my favorite director. That'll be good.
Hey, I sense a theme here.
We can talk about Children of Men for an hour, and then we can be like, Gravity was cool. Anyway, in Children of Men, when
Prisoner of Azkaban.
Yeah, he did that. He went there. Yeah, Cuarón's good, man. I'm looking forward to that.
Cool. All right. Well,
I didn't realize we were doing him next. I knew that would be a thing.
It's on the docket, sir. We have 2 weeks until to prepare for that. But yes, that is our director's cut this week for Danny Boyle. Jason Alt, thank you so much for joining me once again. And in the future, where can the good kids find you, sir?
Well, I'm on the Twitter at Jason E. Alt. I write for two Magic the Gathering websites, one called MTG Price and one called Gathering Magic. And I'm on Facebook and Reddit, and I'm the host of the Brainstorm Brewery and Money Draft Magic the Gathering podcast. So I'm out there, man. I'm a content producer.
How are those beers, sir?
You know, the Quantum Leap could have been a little colder, but it was, for a quad, very drinkable. I think it's mellowed out significantly. I've aged it for about a year, and I think the other three are going to go down real smooth. I might even let my wife have one.
Well, what a gentleman. I am right here on this very YouTube channel. They Said We Said. My name is Jon Dunning. You could find me on Twitter as Orzov Dunn. You could also find me on Facebook as Jon Dunning or Instagram as They Said We Said. My special guest, the Fartin Week. Man, I've been drinking
you drank the whole bottle. So
yes, the Woot Stout. It was it's my least favorite of the series. I've been drinking this thing for like 8 years straight, and it just wasn't that good this year.
It was Will Wheaton in Toy Soldiers as opposed to Will Wheaton in Star Trek.
Indeed, it really was. It was not Stand By Me, Will Wheaton. It was more Will Wheaton introducing, Kaladesh cards. 11
that he clearly never seen.
11 point, yeah. 11, that was fucking brutal. 11.5%. It's a lower alcohol content even. I feel ripped off. I'm pissed off. I'm going to Facebook message Will Wheaton right now, and he'll never see it. But yeah, not that great. Out of 5, I'm going to give it a 3.5, the lowest I would ever give.
Just 2 out of 10. Just give it a 7 out of 10. What are you doing with your...
I don't do 10s, man.
No, but you go out of 5. But then if you can break it up into a 0.5, congrats. You just made it a 10 scale.
Exactly.
If 0.5s are possible. You just made it. You gave it a 7 out of 10. Just be honest with yourself. I gave it a 3.125 out of 2.5. All right.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Director's Cut. Come back for Alfonso. How do you say it right? Because I'm saying
Alfonso Cuarón.
There you go. Come back for that shit.
That may or may not be correct.
Join me tomorrow for 10th Street Hooligans, then on Thursday night for the collab with Bad Movie Night and my sister. So, yeah, all that's happening. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you at the movies.
Bye.